A radio wave is generated by a transmitter and then detected by a receiver. An antenna allows a radio transmitter to send energy into space and a receiver to pick up energy from space. Transmitters and receivers are typically designed to operate over a limited range of frequencies. This is the basic scientific explanation as to how radio signals work, but certain things happen that have no scientific explanation, where they don't always have an answer. The following are 3 stories about strange messages and signals that left people bamboozled. Fan transmits radio station. The following true story happened to a woman while she was lying in bed. On one particular warm night, she had the window open and could hear the faint sound of country music. Although the sound of the music was very soft, she could still recognise the tune. On other occasions, she would hear a low voice talking. However, these sounds did not happen every night, only on certain nights, but it was happening often enough to disturb her. And it was never too soft to hear, but then never too loud to make out what the voice was actually saying. After a period of time, it became rather annoying, where she would stand at the window trying to work out where the sounds were coming from. After a few weeks, it suddenly occurred to her that the sounds were not coming from outside, but were somehow coming from inside the house. To make matters even more crazy, she found that the sounds were coming from her fan. She was about to run down to her husband to get him to listen to the sounds emanating from her fan when a rush of fear raced through her mind. What if her husband could not hear the sounds? What if the sounds were only in her head and not from the fan? For the following weeks, she continued to lay in frustration until one night she figured the fan was somehow transmitting signals from a local radio station, and one that played country and western, and the reason that it didn't play every night was that there needed to be some moisture in the air in order to conduct the radio waves. Because this was just a theory of hers, she still kept the idea of the talking fan to herself. Then one day she plucked up the courage to tell her co-worker Steve, where he then typed what she said into his iPhone. Then the words auditory hallucination appeared. He said that if you type the words hearing voices from a fan into your search engine, you come up with lots of people having similar experiences. Although she never got to the bottom of why a fan transmits the sounds, she refuses to give in to the auditory hallucination theory. This was another strange story where a person was able to hear a sound being transmitted without speakers, and on this occasion the transmission was coming from a fan. Noises from a bedroom wall. 9-year-old Brianna Smith from Lockport, Illinois, claimed that strange sounds, music and talk radio had been coming out of a bedroom wall for about 6 years. Brianna claims that she also hears voices coming from the wall. The sounds are usually heard in the middle of the night and keep her awake. Her father, Richard, cannot understand where the sounds actually come from because there are no speakers in the wall. Richard Smith reported the sounds to Lockport Police, where they were able to hear for themselves voices, music, and talking about religion. Then one of the officers heard a commercial for the Christian radio station AM 1160, all emanating from the bedroom wall. Then, at around 1:30 a.m, Richard Smith was awoken by the voices of a pastor praying over someone for healing. He believes the noise is being transmitted from one of 6 radio towers south of his residence. Radio station AM 1160 sent out a technician, but he could not figure out what was acting as a speaker behind the wall. He could not explain why they were hearing it. Richard Smith even pulled apart his daughter's bedroom wall, exposing all the wiring and electrical workings, but found nothing that would cause the transmissions. Even the Federal Communications Commission were baffled. An engineer called Patrick Berger said AM is a wild thing, and when it comes to something like this, there are a small amount of people who actually have this unusual experience. He said experts would have to check inside the wall for corroded piping or ductwork or even the placement of metal, as the metal could act like a speaker, he explained. Smith said that after years of listening to these disturbances, his family are now desperate, where their daughter Brianna cannot sleep in her own bedroom. Experts were unable to find a solution to their problem. Mysterious Russian signal. There is a mysterious radio transmission that broadcasts from Russia. It is known as station UVB-76 and is purported to have been around since the mid-1970s. In that time, it has broadcasted unusual transmissions that even today continue to baffle experts. Station UVB-76 for years has transmitted a series of strange beeps. Then in 1992, the signals changed to an incessant nasal buzzing noise, along with inexplicable tones, beeping and other strange noises, and continued with the pitch and intensity occasionally fluctuating. The non-stop buzzing drone has a nickname, the Buzzer, that is possibly manually generated but is not known for what reason. On extremely rare occasions, the buzzing noise changed to a ghostly Russian voice that recites numbers and names before fading away. Experts suggest that it could be some sort of code, but that is as far as they can make out. Then for some inexplicable reason, everything goes silent, then will mysteriously start up again hours or days later. Then in 2010, it suddenly changed from its cacophony of strange noises and voices and started playing Swan Lake, which lasted for about 40 seconds before reverting back to its chaotic sounds. Then shortly after this musical interlude, there appeared banging, thumping, rustling and shuffling noises, accompanied by a garbled and unintelligible conversation in the background. Then Swan Lake would occasionally play again, either in the foreground or the background. The signal was eventually traced to the town of Poverovo, Moscow, where they found the actual building where the broadcast had come from. But things got even more mysterious when they found that the transmission had been coming from an abandoned building and were unable to find out who was sending the signals. It appeared that whoever had been sending the signals had now relocated, yet continued to transmit its bizarre messages. Then on September the 7th, 2010, a male voice announced that the call sign was changing to Mikhail Dmitry Zhenya Boris, followed by new numbers and codes that had not been heard before. To this day, the unusual sounds still emanate from UVB-76, where people still try to decipher what the messages are really about, and Russian authorities deny its existence. So, were the signals a secret code or a military channel? Most theorists believe that it is an illegal radio broadcast set to a specific frequency that transmits codes using beeps, buzzes and clicks that would mean nothing to the normal listener, but to some agent in the field would be vital information. These sorts of transmissions remain shrouded in mystery, where governments do not even admit they exist.